Hello again, and welcome to Reading with Miss Tolliver. Our book choice today is Earth's Oceans. This book was written by Amy Austen. Chapter 1 Unexplored Oceans. Have you ever been to an ocean? Oceans cover more than 70% of Earth's surface. They are one of Earth's most prominent features. For thousands of years, people have tried to unlock the mysteries of Earth's oceans. There are still many things we don't understand about the oceans today. In fact, we've only scratched the surface. People have explored only about 5% of the oceans. Scientists who study the oceans are called oceanographers. They work hard each day to uncover as much as possible about these deep blue waters. There are 5 oceans on Earth, and they are all connected to each other. The largest ocean in the world is the Pacific Ocean. The second largest ocean is the Atlantic Ocean. The other oceans are the Indian Ocean, Arctic Ocean, and Southern Ocean. The Southern Ocean wasn't officially called an ocean until 2000, and some people still don't recognize it. Chapter 2 5 Ocean Zones. Oceans are split into 5 layers depending on how deep the water is. As you go deeper into an ocean, it gets darker and colder. Pressure increases because of the weight of the water above you. The part of an ocean that most people are familiar with is the surface layer. It's called the epipelagic zone. It's also called the sunlight zone because it receives the most light and therefore the most heat. Underneath this zone is the mesopelagic zone, which is called the twilight zone. Only a little sunlight reaches this zone. The next zone is the bathypelagic zone, which is completely dark. It's also called the midnight zone. The 2 deepest zones are the absolute pelagic and the hadopelagic zones. They are dark and cold, and almost nothing can exist there. Chapter 3 Coral Reefs. Coral reefs are special ocean habitats. There aren't many coral reefs in the world, and they aren't very big compared to the size of the oceans. However, nearly 25% of all ocean creatures call a coral reef home. Coral structures are made up of tiny animals called polyps. Polyps have an opening at one end and acts as a mouth. They also have tentacles that help them catch food. Polyps eat other tiny ocean creatures such as algae. Coral polyps often live in groups, thousands in what's called a coral colony. Over time, they create an exoskeleton. These skeletons form the reef structure. A coral reef is a very colorful place because of all the different kinds of coral. Fish and other marine animals love to live in the coral reefs because they can hide and hunt there. Chapter 4 The Deepest Ocean. The deep sea is an area of Earth that isn't well explored. Fewer animals exist as you go deeper. A species or kind of deep sea snailfish lives deeper in the ocean than any other creature yet found. It lives more than 5 miles underwater. The deepest part of Earth's ocean is located in the Mariana Trench. This landform is located in the Pacific Ocean, east of the Philippines. A trench is a deep, narrow hole in the ocean. Trenches happen when tectonic plates collide and one plate is pushed under the other. The Mariana Trench is more than 1,500 miles long. From the ocean surface to the trench's deepest point is almost 7 miles. The deepest point is called the Challenger Deep. It's completely dark down there with water that's almost freezing. Chapter 5, The Mountains and Volcanoes. Do you know that the longest mountain range in the world is actually underwater? The mid-ocean range system is a mountain range that's more than 40,300 miles long. Most of this mountain range is underwater, but about 10% rises above the ocean surface. Underwater mountains or submarine mountains occur when two tectonic plates meet, just like trenches. However, mountains form when two plates move away from each other. As they part, molten rock underneath the surface rises to create new land. A submarine mountain range has both peaks or high points and valleys or low points. The oceans are also home to many submarine volcanoes. Some oceanographers think that there are more than 1 million underwater volcanoes. When they erupt, lava explodes into the ocean, forming new rocks along the ocean floor. Since most submarine volcanoes exist far under the water surface, people often don't know when they erupt. Chapter 6, Tsunamis. Earthquakes happen when tectonic plates slip past one another. The boundary between two plates is called a fault line. There are many fault lines on land and even more in the ocean. When the plates suddenly slip by each other, they release waves of energy. When you're on land, this feels like the earth is rumbling or shaking. When it happens underwater, it can cause a tsunami. A tsunami is a very high wave, and it sometimes occurs as part of a series of large ocean waves. Tsunamis are caused by earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and other major disturbances on the seafloor. This activity creates energy which causes huge waves. When a tsunami happens in the middle of an ocean, people usually don't notice. However, when it happens near a coast, people living on, on land may be affected. Large tsunamis can overtake streets, highways, and buildings along the coast. Chapter 7, Tides and Currents. Water is always moving. Moving water is called a current. One of the causes of ocean currents is wind. You may notice that there are more waves on a windy day. That's because wind creates ocean currents on or near the surface of the water. Tides also cause currents. Ocean tides are the rising and falling motion of water throughout the day. At high tide, the water rises and rushes over the shoreline. At low tide, the water lowers and rushes back to the sea. Tides occur because of gravity. The gravity of the sun and moon pull on Earth's oceans and create the rise and fall in the water levels. Some currents can be strong and even deadly. Rip currents, also called rip tides, happen as water flows from the shore back to the open ocean. If an obstacle is in the way, the water flows around it, creating a strong current. Chapter 8, Ecosystems and Habitats. Oceans are home to many species of plants and animals. Different zones of the ocean have different species that can live there. Some ocean habitats are warm while others are cold. Some are very salty while others aren't as salty. Oceans hold a great variety of ecosystems. Ecosystems are communities of living and non-living things that interact with one another. Coral reefs are home to thousands of species of colorful fish that feed on smaller fish and plankton. Blue tangs and clownfish are two kinds of fish that live in a coral reef. Deep sea ecosystems have fewer species, but those that do live there have adapted to the dark and cold. Anglerfish are a good example of deep sea fish. They have a body part that looks like a fishing rod with a light attached. It attracts smaller fish for them to eat. Chapter 9, Ocean Issues. The world's oceans are so huge that it probably seems like there's nothing humans can do to harm them. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Many ocean areas have been ruined by human pollution and global warming. People dump much of their trash and waste into the water. Marine animals can die if they eat plastic bags, bottles, or foam packaging. In the northern Pacific Ocean, there's an area known as the Pacific Trash Vortex that's about the size of Texas. It's a swirling bunch of trash. Chemicals that are used in farming also pollute the water. They can create dead zones, which are places where little to no ocean life can survive. People have also buried a lot of fossil fuels, especially over the last 100 years. Scientists believe this has caused global warming, which is causing ocean levels to rise. Chapter 10, Mysteries of the Ocean. Some ocean mysteries may never be solved. Why have ships disappeared in the Bermuda Triangle? Do ancient cities exist on the ocean floor? What kinds of animals live in the deep, deep sea? However, oceanographers are hard at work exploring our oceans. As technology advances, we're able to see more of the oceans than ever before. Scientists explore the oceans using unmanned undersea vehicles, or UUVs. These are designed by engineers. These robots are controlled by remotes or programmed to do their job. Human-operated vehicles, or HOVs, like the Deep Sea Challenger, can carry people into the deep sea. Sonar technology can make the ocean floor using a series of waves that bounce back once they hit something. We're learning more about oceans every day. It may never be possible to explore each part of the 5 oceans, but we're getting closer. The end. I hope you enjoyed this book, Earth Oceans. I certainly did. And I'll see you next time on